Alright guys, this is Ted from KWGPaintVeins. I'm not going to do any more cool intros anymore because my PC broke and I'm on the Mac right now, and Lion doesn't have any iMac software at all, and I don't want to go buy it. I'm too lazy because right now the video content's what's important. The other thing I wanted to point out to you guys, this is a red rotor, not an orange rotor. I don't know if you can see now that it's red. No. But I promise it's a red rotor. It's not orange. It looks like it's orange, and I noticed it in my review video that it looked orange, but it's actually the red version. So it's the red basic version. You can just blame my lamp light for that. I gotta move that. So basically what I'm addressing in this video today is you get your brand new rotor, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go play with my rotor, and you fill that up with whatever crappy field paint you're using, or you fill it up with your Reballs, or you fill it up with something like that. You try and take a couple shots of the chronograph. It goes click, 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 and then it doesn't shoot, and nothing feeds. Or maybe you notice that your feed neck or your loader is just sputtering paint everywhere or anything like that, and you're like, what the fuck? I spent $200 on this rotor, and it's a piece of shit. Well, I'm gonna show you how to change that, and that attitude. Okay? First problem is that you spent $200 on it. Alright. What we're going to talk about is adjusting the spring tension. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm nice and no one else seems to do it, I'm going to tell you what spring tensions I would tell you depending on what kind of paint you're using. So the first thing you have to do is take apart the rotor completely. Don't need the lid piece. You don't need this plate here, the loader plate with the thing here. And what you're going to do is you're going to remove these tabs. You're going to open those up completely. You're going to remove the drive cone and the rotor and the gearbox and the cone seat, the drive cone seat, the gears and the rotor. And then what you're going to do is there's two little finger tabs right here. You're going to stick your fingers in there and you're just going to pull straight out, and this thing comes out with no resistance whatsoever. Now we can set this off to the side. So how do you adjust the torque, you might ask? First thing I need to do is get out my Allen key. This screw right here, I have it brought out a whole bunch. I'm not going to keep it there, but I brought it out a whole bunch so you could see it. I'm going to hold it up. The one that's sticking up the most. This one here on your right. Okay, that's the spring tension screw. Now, when you get it stock, it's screwed like all the way in there. All the way in there, because Dye really wants to drive it into you that your rotor can feed at 50 balls a second, and they want you to feed at 50 balls a second. So you fill it up with paint and you press it to do a drop test, and a big old bunch of paint just splatters all over your lap and all over the ground, and everyone around you gets splattered with paint because it broke all the paint inside, because no loader needs to go that fast. But they want to show it off because they did it, which is fine, because that's really fast and impressive. What you need to do, though, and this is my suggestion, if you're going to use Reballs or low-end paint with really thick shells, okay, you need to have the screw, bring it to flush, bring it so that it's flush with the screw hole, okay, and this is for Reballs, Diablo Heat, any low-end Draxxus or RPS paint or anything like that, hell, even Monster Balls for home defense. You bring it to the flush point, the screw to the flush point, and then you screw it in 3-hole rotations. So 1, 2, actually more like 2, actually not even 2, 1.5, sorry. About 1.5 rotations. If you need to, 2 complete rotations from the flush point. Don't do 3, do 1.5 to 2. That way it puts more tension on it. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to basically just force the paint to go through, because it's basically going to get this gearbox turning, and it's just going to force it, because the tension is so high that it's just going to be like, gah! And because the shell is so thick, or if it's a reball, it's not going to break as easy. Now, you wouldn't use this for evil or premium paints, because it would just break. So if you're going to be using a premium paint, okay, then you want to bring your spring tension screw to flush, okay? So by premium paint, I'm talking RPS Premium Silver or Gold, or what's another higher end paint? I can't something like GI Milsims Tournament. I would even say Oh man, I can't think of, my mind just went blank. Well, anything that's in the same price range and performance range and like thickness and paint sort of style. Basically RPS Premium and anything like it is where you would keep the screw flush. Now, if you're going to be using really fragile, delicate, top of the line paint, you know, if you're going to be using Ultra Evil, okay, let's say, or if you're going to be using, you know, super, even Marbilizer would be like in between RPS Premium and Evil and stuff, but Evil paint and, damn, I can't think right now. But really evil paint. Okay, let's just go with evil. Like, you know, the paint, really thick fill that's impossible to wipe with that plastic, with a plastic shell rather than the gelatin shell. I mean, and then other extremely delicate ass paint. Then you definitely would bring your torque screw, you'd start it at flush, and you would bring it out one whole rotation. Okay? So it should look like it's sticking out a bit. Okay? So, for your low-end paints and your reballs and all that other stuff, you bring it to the flush point where the screw is flush with the screw hole, and you could run your finger over it and you won't feel a hole and it won't be protruding, okay? And then you screw it in 1.5 to 2 times. If you're going to use your premium paint, like RPS Premium and stuff like that, then you keep it flush with the screw hole. And if you're going to use very delicate, very fragile, tournament top-of-the-line paint, or even fragile, you know, frozen paintballs or something like that, then you're going to bring it one screw out. You're going to take it flush and you're going to unscrew it one rotation. Okay? Now, of course, every paintball is different, every climate is different, but that's about the rough average that I've found depending on different paints. But that is what I think you should do. That is my suggestion. You should use these as guiding points, really, and then find that perfect placement for spring tension for your gun, for your loader, and for whatever paint you're shooting. But those are my guides. Okay? So thanks for watching the video. I hope I taught you all how to adjust the spring tension on your die rotor. It's very important that you know how to do it. I'm not sure if the quick start guide does it. I forgot and I lost mine, but you can always get one online. I know that Paintbox has a PDF file. You can probably find it on PB Nation or TechPB, or even Die's website. You can probably find it as a PDF format. But yeah, just remember, also, side note, Energizer batteries, Duracell copper tops, or paintball batteries only, really, is what I would suggest, unless you can find a super high-end lithium-ion, amazing firework display kind of battery that, you know, outperforms Energizer or Duracell or the paintball batteries. But yeah, those are my tips, and that is also how you adjust the spring tension. The further you go in, the more spring tension. The further you go out, the less spring tension. Which is why for reballs you want more spring tension, because it'll just force it through. Okay, and don't worry too much. The rotor is very good about feed stack plugging. And that's really what I call it. But basically what I'm talking about is if you have a bunch of paint in the feed stack, it's not just going to be like, oh, I heard a gun go off, or oh, you're shooting, I'm just going to force more paint in here so that you're like jamming 6 or 7 balls into what should only be a space for 3, you know, and then paint breaks and stuff. It won't do that. The spring tension only changes the amount of force the rotor puts onto the paint to force it into the feed neck or to sort of guide it in. So you want it to sort of force it in for your lower end paint that's not going to break as easy, but will jam up if it's not forced in. And you want it to more guide it in, or sort of be like, okay, honey, here you go, come on this way, you know, caress it basically. If you're using your evil paint, which will do its fine little job getting inside of your breach, so you can shoot it at the opposing teammate. So yeah, I hope you all learned something, and yeah, rate, comment, subscribe, whatever.